dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we will start our third session. So our third session will be devoted to the regional integration and infrastructure projects. So for this session, we invited as a moderator, Deputy Director of Macroeconomic and the Economic Forecasting Institute, Deputy Director, Zaman Haldar.
Assalamu alaikum, hurmatli mehmonlar, ekspertlar. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. I am very delighted to see you all at today's event and would like to once again extend a warm welcome to this conference. As we began this session, which is dedicated to regional integration and infrastructure projects, I would first like to highlight the remarkable progress made in recent years in fostering mutual alliance and strategic cooperation among our countries, driven by strong political will and shared aspirations. In this context, the organization of Turkic states not only united historically close nations, but also become a virtual platform for dialogue among countries committed to building a shared future. Today, member states of organizations are actively deepening their cultural, educational, scientific, and most notably, trade and economic relations at an impressive pace. Our region, historically situated at the crossroads of Eastern and Western civilizations, is now determined not only to strengthen mutual trade, but also to become an integral part of global supply chains. This objective has become even more relevant considering particularly current geopolitical and economic situations. At present, our member countries are jointly implementing large-scale investment projects in industrial cooperation, energy, and transportation sectors. Uzbekistan is also actively contributing to strengthening economic ties by establishing robust industrial cooperation with all member states. Many projects are currently underway in the field of transport and energy logistics. These include enhancing cargo transit through the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor, constructing the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Railway, and the joint Uzbekistan-Kazakhstan-Azerbaijan initiative on the Caspian Green Energy Corridor. These large-scale initiatives will not only improve the well-being of our nations, but also make a valuable contribution to global economic stability. As you are all aware, the implementation of new projects, the creation of added value, and the generation of new jobs are fundamental drivers of economic prosperity. Of course, this requires significant investment and efforts. This is precisely where our role as think tank organizations, institutions of member countries, it is becoming very important in this current situation. Our main task is to identify new directions for cooperation through discussions, define new vectors for joint efforts, and develop proposals in this regard. We look forward to hearing the thoughts and insights of our esteemed experts participating in today's meeting and engaging in fruitful discussions together. Thank you again to all of you. So let us now start the discussion of the topic of regional integration and infrastructure projects. So we have our first presenter here, Mr. Ashat Kesikbayev. He is Vice President of the Turkic Academy. His presentation considers strengthening transport and energy connectivity among Turkic states. Please.
Thank you very much. Honorable participants, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests. It's a great privilege on behalf of the Turkic Academy and my own to address this esteemed gathering today at the conference of the leading national analytical centers of the Organization of Turkic States. I extend my sincere gratitude to the Center for Economic Research and Reforms under the administration of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan for organizing this significant event. As we convey today, we recognize the growing importance of regional cooperation in an increasingly interconnected world. One of the most vital pillars of this cooperation is transport and energy connectivity, which is essential for unlocking the full economic potential of the Turkic world. Strengthening these links will facilitate trade, enhance energy security, and accelerate economic integration among the Turkic nations. The Turkic Academy, which marks its 15th anniversary this year, was originally established to promote international collaboration across various fields of Turkic studies, including history, archaeology, anthropology, literature, and linguistics. As part of this mission, the Academy has published a series of terminological dictionaries of Turkic language covering areas such as economics, medicine, military affairs, and other fields to foster greater linguistic integration. Taking into account the challenges and needs of the Turkic integration, the 10th Summit of Organization of Turkic States, held in Astana in 2023, expanded the working agenda of Turkic Academy to include natural and applied science, socio-political issues, and economic matters. As a result, the Turkic Academy has taken the initiative to strengthen strategic partnership in these areas. Notably, it now serves as the secretariat for the Turkic Network of Official Economic Policy Research Centers, ERSNET, a platform dedicated to enhancing economic cooperation and integration. The ERSNET was established in February 2023 and brings together official institutions tasked with researching the economic policies of the member countries of the Organization of Turkic States. I am pleased to note that the Center for Economic Research and Reforms, under the administration of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, the organizer of today's conference, is a member of the ERSNET representing Uzbekistan. Also, there are other distinguished members from Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, and Hungary. The main objectives of the ERSNET are promoting economic relations, greater economic integration, and stronger partnership among Turkic countries. ERSNET also intends to recognize and promote long-term growth drivers that support the Turkic economy's smart, inclusive, and sustainable growth. A key initiative within ERSNET has been the development of an annual report analyzing the economic trends of our member states. The first such report on Turkic economies 2023, digital trade and investment, was published in December 2023. The discussions that emerged from this report's launch and the subsequent workshop in Ankara on December 25 highlighted the transformative role of digital trade and investment in our economies. Our ability to leverage emerging technologies has been a defining factor in fostering economic growth and resilience. Building on this success, the ERSNet members agreed to focus the 2024 edition on this report and a crucial theme, strengthening transport and energy connectivity among Turkic states. This decision reflects our collective recognition that efficient transport networks and robust energy infrastructure are fundamental to deepening economic ties and ensuring sustainable development. Efficient transport corridors are the backbone of regional economic integration. By developing multimodal transport links and modernizing infrastructure, we can reduce logistical costs and enhance trade competitiveness. Initiatives such as the Trans-Caspian International Transport Road Middle Corridor are already demonstrating the strategic value of enhancing connectivity between Europe and Asia throughout the Turkic region. Investments in rail, road, and port infrastructure will further optimize trade flows and expand our global market reach. The ERSNet report underscores the need for harmonizing transport policies, digitalized customs procedures, and coordinated investment in key transit corridors. These efforts will significantly improve transit efficiency and trade facilitation among Turkic countries. Energy security and sustainability are equally crucial for regional prosperity. The Turkic states possess abundant energy resources, including oil, natural gas, and renewables, which offer opportunities for enhanced energy cooperation. Strengthening cross-border energy infrastructure, such as pipeline and electricity grids, will improve energy security, stabilize price, and ensure equitable resource distribution. The transition to clean energy also presents an opportunity for collaboration. By investing in renewable energy projects and adopting green technologies, Turkic nations can reduce carbon footprints while maintaining energy independence. Joint ventures in solar and wind energy can further strengthen intra-regional cooperation and establish the Turkic region as a leader in sustainable energy solutions. The discussions and insights from today's conference will play a pivotal role in shaping our collective strategies. The ERSNet platform provides an invaluable opportunity for collaboration, knowledge sharing, and policy coordination. By leveraging our collective expertise, we can implement pragmatic solutions that enhance transport and energy connectivity across the Turkic world. To achieve this, the report proposed the following key actions: strengthening policy coordination among OTS member states to facilitate infrastructure investment and regulatory harmonization; expanding partnership between public and private sectors to accelerate the development of transport and energy projects; enhancing research collaboration to explore innovative technologies that optimize trade routes and energy distributions; promoting digital solutions in transport logistics and energy management to increase efficiency and sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, our shared vision for a more connected and prosperous Turkic region is within reach. Through strategic partnership, innovative solutions, and unwavering commitment, we can unlock new opportunities for economic growth and sustainable development. As we continue to work together, let us remain steadfast in our pursuit of where transport and energy networks unite Turkic nations, strengthen our economies, and bring prosperity to our people. I am confident that through our collective efforts, the Turkic world will emerge as a dynamic hub of connectivity, trade, and innovation. Thank you for your attention. Rahmat.
Thank you very much, dear Askat Kesikbay, for your insight discussions about performance and contribution of the Turkic Academy in the building of the strong relationship among the states. So our next expert, Ms. Usal Jafarova. She is head of department at Center for Analysis of Economic Reforms and Communications, Republic of Azerbaijan. Ms. Usal, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to congratulate our Uzbek colleagues for very high-level organization of this event, which is very indeed important event, because we are the think tanks of Turkic states. We do our own work in our own offices, but indeed we really need such formats, such opportunity to discuss what we are doing, what kind of research we are doing individually, so that we can share the results and to come to the common conclusion on the further improvement of the trade and economic cooperation among Turkic states. I would like to inform you about Azerbaijan's first of all, I represent Center for Economic Reforms and Communication of Azerbaijan. This one is government-affiliated think tank. We have think and do format. Being the think tank, we also have some do format, because getting mandates from president for drafting strategies, cross strategies, and also doing monetary evaluation of the cross strategies. At the same time, we also have flagship projects, and since the establishment of Turkic states organization, we have a new branch or division under our center, which is called Turkic World Research Center, that I am the director of this center. And we are doing periodical research on Turkic economy, and one of them is Turkic economic review outlook that we publish every quarter. So I have some copies with me, and you can feel free to pick up. As you know, I am speaking at the trade session and the connectivity session, and my presentation is about the role of Azerbaijan as being the transit country. Azerbaijan is located in just between the east and west side of Turkic world. It connects West Hungary, Cyprus, Turkey, and with the Turkic states on the east. And it is very strategic location, not only between east and west, but also among north and south. It's the crossroad of these important international routes. Azerbaijan also important for connecting China and Europe, not only because of the physical infrastructure, but also being the very reliable partner, economic entity for enabling being author of an architect of big mega projects like Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, Southern Gas Corridor, that are right now connecting this part of the geography to Europe and making this geography important partner for Europe and European markets. Now, I will mention about the Middle Corridor role, and also Azerbaijan after liberation of its territory. We have another, even the shortest part of this corridor, which is we call Zangezur Corridor. Nakhchivan is enclave of Azerbaijan territory, and this Zangezur Corridor connecting Nakhchivan to Azerbaijan, which is called Turkic Gate, because by this corridor, Azerbaijan getting the land connection with Turkey and also by sea with Turkic states. That's why, but I will focus my presentation mostly on transit capacity. Just this would like to introduce you to the map. My presentation, I will focus on the hardware, what kind of physical infrastructure is important for ensuring this transit capacity of Azerbaijan, and diplomacy, what kind of diplomatic efforts that conducted by a country to enable this to happen, and also the software. The main issue, which is the trade facilitation that we had here, Uzbek colleagues, Ministry of different ministries represented about what kind of trade facilitation work are doing. Then we also, the government has this state action plan adopted for 2024-26 on transit corridors, and the government, Azerbaijan government prioritizes this being the transit country, and it has its own priorities and accomplishments And our center is also in charge of the monitoring evaluation of the implementation of these priorities of this strategy. This is not the final presentation I shared. Yes, sorry for this pause. Would like to share about with you the key highlights. In 2024, the total freight transported through Azerbaijan, the figures indicate on through Azerbaijan's main corridors. I mentioned about the east and west corridor and also north and south, which reached over 33 million tons, with turnover of 13.2 billion ton kilometer. Compared to 2023, this represents 1.4% growth. It's moderate growth, but it's steady growth. In my next slides, I will show the dynamics of how we came to this point, and already the low-hanging fruits step is over. So now we have experienced the very unprecedented growth, but now we are on the steady growth stage. We also experienced 2.5% growth in turnover, signaling very in turnover point of view. This is also now in steady progress stage. Most important, I would like to mention about that over 56% of that freight was transit cargo, underlying Azerbaijan's growing importance in international logistics. Let's look at the distribution by transit corridor crossing Azerbaijan. The east-west corridor, including the middle corridor, which we called Traseka also before, handled over 70 million tons of this. And north-south axis, this connects Russia to Iran and India via Azerbaijan, and this reached 9.9 million tons of the transit goods. The northwest and the southwest corridors also handled significant traffic. And these corridors represent Azerbaijan's role as the key multi-directional transit hub. Let's look at the Azerbaijan's multimodal logistics capability and its competitive advantage. The railway, because the country has both the railway, the road, and sea transport capacities. The railway handled the largest share, over 46%, but due to its efficiency for long-haul, bulk, and container cargo. And road freight accounts for about 30%, useful for shorter or more flexible transport. Sea transport, especially through Caspian Sea, moved around 24% of the cargo. So this modal balance is essential to meet the different market demands and also the corridor strategies. When coming to transit freight share, I should mention more than 18.8 million tons of total freight in 2024 was transit cargo, which is over 56%. This is a very powerful indicator of Azerbaijan growing in importance as transit country, not just as cargo origin or destination. This trend is expected to grow as global trade routes diversify and shift toward the middle corridor and alternatives to congested or high-risk routes. When look at the growth potential, Azerbaijan freight sector shows stable but organic growth. Railway and maritime sector are seeing particularly fast modernization that I will talk in my next slides, and usage increases. Additionally, there is growing emphasis on green logistics, private sector involvement, and also the public-private partnerships. And these dynamics create a strong base for long-term transit growth, especially for in container freight. Those that I mentioned indicates synergy by the geostrategic location of the country and also enabling having multimodal infrastructure possessing both the railroad and sea. Corridor transport participation growing role in global supply chain because right now, last week we experienced Azerbaijan hosted energy sessions of green energy and also the energy ministers meeting with European and also the relevant actors of the region where the big mega projects of energy were discussed. The middle corridor detail I would like to mention when we look at the potential of the middle corridor container freight dynamics, we see that it's mostly containerized freight. In just 2 years, container traffic along this corridor has grown rapidly from 55,000 TEUs in 2022 to projected 95,000 TEUs in 2024. And factors driving this growth include the shifts from Russian to and Iranian routes, investments in Baku port, rail links and digitalization of the corridor, increasing containerized trade between China and Central Asia, Europe due to the increased uncertainties in the world, especially on the north route. This is a clear signal for that Azerbaijan is becoming central to transcontinental container trade. Again, the key drivers of the growth, several factors contributing for that. Azerbaijan government invested heavily on infrastructure investments for building into opening the new international sea trade port in Caspian Sea, and also the very big investments in the Caspian fleet. The trade facilitation is very important because when politicians discuss and get these borders open and get streamlined, but if the cargo, the bulk of cargo remains and waiting, if the physical capacity is not responding the flow of the cargo, then if the goods get perished, the businesses, the users will not use this corridor anymore, even though it's shorter or much cheaper. So that's why digitalization is an important part of this process, and we are highly appreciating in the summit that we see the head of governments, the head of states, they agree on the digitalization policies to make this corridor very competitive. This is the international sea trade port capacity of Azerbaijan, and recently in the first phase the investment is over, and 15 million tons, including 100,000 TEUs container in the first phase. But in the second phase, we are expecting that 25 million tons capacity, including 500 TEU containers. We don't know yet when the second phase starts, but this is the target to increase the capacity of the port, and this is the priority put by the president of the country. Let's look at the sea trade cargo trends. Starting 2015, we started about 3 million, and we see that tons, and now in 2024 we are almost 8 million tons. This is the dynamics, shows how since 2015 the cargo almost more than doubled. This is only through the international sea trade, but not for whole the country, only via the port. Baku sea trade port cargo trends, if we look at the cargo trends year by year, we see that in 2024 it reached about 7.58 8 million tons, which is 3.2% growth on year term. Import cargo shows steady growth, about 9.5%. Export cargo also rising with 7.1%, and transit cargo remains dominant, 70%. So 70% of the cargoes are transit, but declined slightly recently. We also started local cargo handling, which is surged dramatically due to new domestic activity among the ports of the intra-country. What I would like to emphasize here on the transit, even though transit is dominant 70%, as you know, besides this international sea trade port, Azerbaijan established Alat Open Economic Zone, special economic zone, and in that zone, the reason why it's been established beside the port, because of the goods coming to Azerbaijan, semi-produced goods, and converted into final goods and exported. So we think that by increasing this capacity, by involving investors to the special economic zone, the country will not only act as a transit country, but also will turn into the increase the export capacity, which will also respond to its objective to increase its non-oil exports. You know, Azerbaijan, more than 90% are oil exports, and the country has facing very big diversification of challenges. So in that regard, to increase this ratio, it's the utmost priority for the government. The conclusion, I would like to mention that Azerbaijan's role as transit hub is not only growing, but it's transforming. With over half of transported cargo being transit-related, but it's clear that the country is on the map as a Eurasian logistics center. Strategic investments, international cooperation, corridor connectivity will continue to drive this momentum. Of course, there are challenges remains. Those are related to border procedures, and they're related to multimodal tackling issues, infrastructure gaps still existing, and also the important one are remaining on the digitalization of the corridors that our policymakers are actively working on the agenda. When we look at the Azerbaijan vision for 2026 and beyond, being the transit country, we think that the country mostly focusing on the green logistics mostly, and the green energy and other exports, digitalization of the corridor again, and especially we would like that this corridor mostly used by OTS member countries, and which will position Azerbaijan as one of the strong OTS member. And in that regard, the think tanks of Turkic World, we invite all of you for cooperation to unite our research and to meet this overall objective. I would like to, seizing this opportunity, to invite you as author to our next publication. We are writing the Turkic States, the Rising Investment Powerhouse. We will focus on mostly investment opportunities of Turkic states in this book, and the trends, and also the innovative and other transformative ecosystem, the digitalization, other startup on other type of investment initiatives. So we would like to provide the description of the existence investment incentives for each country, and also provide most of the analytical results, how we can do, what we can do that to boost the intra-OTS investments, and doing so to enable to achieve the economic integration of the Turkic state. So we will get this book published by Scopes indexed publication houses, so you are invited to reach me to get your paper published in that. Thank you very much for your attention.
Dear Usal, thank you very much for your discussion about Azerbaijan's action plan regarding the physical infrastructure development, corridor coordination, and normative judicial base, which is helps to these Turkic states to improve their trade and economic cooperation in this regard. Our next expert is she is Ms. Mirurt Mahmutova. She is director and founder of the Public Policy Research Center from Republic of Kazakhstan. She is attending online. Hello, can you hear us?
Meriert Mahmutova.
Yes. Are you
Please.
hearing well?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, you can now start your presentation, please.
Thanks a lot. Distinguished colleagues, distinguished host, distinguished chair, thanks a lot for this opportunity to join to this important event. I hope in future such events, such conferences will be conducted on regular basis. I would like to focus on the middle corridor as an economic basis for Turkic integrations. Middle corridor is a strategic multimodal transit corridor between East and West with a length of 6,500 kilometers to 7,000 kilometers, depending on exact origin, destination point, and route segment used, and a current capacity of 6 to 7 million tons as of 2024 estimates, including 80,000 TEU. According to corridor definition of ADB, it is corridor 2, and middle corridor ADB defines as all roads that cross the Caspian Sea. Transportation time along the middle corridor has been reduced from 38-53 days to 18-23 days. The target is 18 days in 2024. It was defined a little bit early, including 5 days to Kazakhstan. The World Bank predicts that volumes along the middle corridor could triple by 2030 to reach 11 million tons per year, mainly due to economic growth in Central Asia, the Caucasus, rather than due to growth in transit cargo. Next slide shows, please, next slide. Next slide shows a map of middle corridor or corridor 2. I would like to clarify that there are different terms used by international institutions. Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor use EU, EBRD, and other institutions. Silk Road, One Road, One Belt also use this corridor as part of this ambitious project. In region, we use Trans-Caspian International Transport Route definition, and in general, in my view, it's easy to use middle corridor definition because it joins all this approach to the link between East and West. Next slide, please. If we will look who will benefit from middle corridor, and first of all, it's an economic development and trade diversification. Previous speaker paid attention to the Azerbaijan approach. In general, for all landlocked Turkic countries like large landlocked countries, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, it offers access to global markets without relying on Russian or Iranian routes. Encourage infrastructure investment such as railways, ports, and logistic hubs. Boost exports, exactly oil, gas, minerals, agricultural products, and facilitates import of goods from Europe and Asia. Next important point is geopolitical leverage. Reduces over dependence on Russian-controlled logistics, especially crucial after 2022 Ukrainian war and sanctions on Russia. Enhances cooperation with EU, China, and Turkey, increasing Central Asia strategic relevance. Strengthens regional integration among Turkic states, supporting the organization of Turkic states, OTS. Next slide, please. Infrastructure and digital connectivity in Middle Corridor already was noted by speakers in previous sessions. Yes, it is very important. It is important to encourage railways and road modernization. Growing cargo traffic requires expansion of infrastructure capacity, marketing, and additional international agreements. It is necessary to promote smart customs, digital corridors, and harmonized transit procedures. Developments of Tauk port in Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan port in Turkmenistan and Baku port in Azerbaijan are crucial part of Middle Corridor development. Of course, for implementation all of these ambitions, ideas, it is necessary to develop multilateral cooperation. Next slide, please. I would like to use this opportunity, meeting of OTS think tank countries, think tanks, to suggest ways where we can cooperate. I'm listing here possible research areas. Of course, it can be wider because there are a lot of important areas for research. First of all, it is necessary pulling data for a more comprehensive mapping of Middle Corridor, understanding what impact the Middle Corridor has current and prospective in participating countries, economic competitiveness in the Middle Corridor, helping to build dynamic and open markets that stimulate competition, entrepreneurship, and productivity growth. Connectivity and trade is infrastructure making markets more integrated. Do we see this impact on trade between OTS countries? Employment and economic growth. Does the Middle Corridor create jobs either directly or indirectly? What is the split with effects to local economies and SMEs? Inclusive. Will the Middle Corridor contribute to building inclusive market economies, ensuring equal economic opportunity for all within a country and region? And of course, last not least, environment, measuring the environmental impact of the Middle Corridor. I would like to note that now Asian Development Bank is working on the development of strategy of Middle Corridor. I'm glad to be part of this team. This document will be presented at ministerial conference, and in my short presentation, it is just general view regarding, it is my personal notice relating to ADB as an institution. And I would like to note in conclusion that the Middle Corridor is more than just a transit route. It's a geostrategic lifeline that empowers the Turkic states economically and politically. It enables them to become pivotal players in Eurasian trade and strengthens intra-Turkic unity in a shifting global order. Thanks a lot for your attention. I will be glad to answer your questions if you are interested to clarify some points.
Ms. Mayor, thank you very much for your presentation. Yes, we highly appreciate your cooperation and contribution in this regard. Let us move our next expert.
Ms. Merritt, you will stay online. We will have questions later on. Is that okay?
I hope she is online. Okay. Mr. David Bureau, he is project coordinator, representation of OTC in Hungary. Please, floor is yours.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real honor to be here at this international conference, and today I would like to discuss Hungary's strategic role which is fostering connectivity and also between Europe and the Turkic world. And I would like to highlighting our contribution to trade, energy cooperation, and some kind of infrastructure development under the OTS framework. So, of course, Hungary's unique geopolitical location position it's a bridge between East and West, and this strategic role has been reinforced by initiatives such as the establishment of the Organization of Turkic States Representation Office in Budapest 2019. And moreover, Hungary will host the OTS Informal Summit in this May, and further concerning its commitment to fostering collaboration between Europe and the Turkic states. Of course, Hungary has been deeply involved in the Organization of Turkic States through active participation in summits and different initiatives. Of course, Hungary has contributed 100 million USD to the Turkic Investment Fund, supporting infrastructure projects across member states. And of course, energy partnership remains central to this engagement, reflecting Hungary's commitment to strengthening economic and of course different other, for example, cultural ties with OTS countries. When we are talking about the trade collaboration, our trade collaboration with OTS member states has reached a strategic level, and trade turnover now exceed 5 billion USD annually, and Hungary's Exim Bank has allocated nearly 1 billion USD in loans to Hungarian companies operating in Turkic countries, and this financial support fosters innovation and strengthen economic integrations. If we are checking that kind of table, I'm so sorry it's Turkish because I just cut it from my previous article, which is in Turkish language. And this table provides a detailed overview of trade relations between Hungary and OTS countries from 2009. And it of course includes 4 key metrics like imports, exports, trade turnover, and foreign trade balance. If you look at the imports, overall, the trend reflects Hungary's increasing reliance on OTS countries for goods and services. The exports consistently surpass imports throughout the period, highlighting Hungary's strong export-oriented trade relation with OTS countries. And the sustained growth demonstrates Hungary's ability to maintain competitive export markets within the OTS region. The trade turnover, which is of course the sum of imports and exports, shows steady growth across the years, and the data reflects Hungary's deepening economic engagement with the OTS countries over the time. And the foreign trade balance remains positive for Hungary throughout the period, and it's indicated the export consistently exceed imports. And the total trade balance between Hungary and the OTS in 2014, which is of course the last year, it's almost 1.6 billion USD in favor of Hungary. And if we check out, for example, the analysis of the chart, it's just for a couple of information, because it's a chart provides a detailed overview of trade relationship among the Turkic states from 1999 and until the COVID period. And of course, it is important to us to mention that it will be a very important situation when we will have the middle corridor situation, which remains limited to 3 potential for growth throughout initiatives, like as I mentioned, the middle corridor and other OTS-led investment programs. And next, like this chart is like a tree map visualization that provides an overview of Hungary's export composition and its key trading partners. Of course, it's divided into 2 main sections, like export products on the left and export destinations on the right side. And each block represents a category with its size proportional of the percentage share in total exports. What can we see that? Of course, Hungary's export by product type, highlighting the diversity of its economy, and the most important categories like the dominant export categories are, for example, the cars, the motor vehicle plants, the technology, electric battery computers, of course, pharmaceutical and packaged medications, of course, a couple of energy exports, And if you look at the export destinations, of course, the main partner of the Hungarian export are the European Union countries like Germany and other Central European countries. But what is important to us to mention that the non-EU markets like, for example, China and the OTS countries, and of course the United States, shows potential for growth, particularly in the high-tech sectors or like electronics and the pharmaceutical part as well. Let's jump to the energy cooperation. As the Hungarian Foreign Minister of Trade, Péter Szijjártó, said, energy cooperation with OTS member boosted Hungary's energy security, pointing to gas delivers from Turkey and Azerbaijan, as well as the start of production at the Kazakh gas field by the Hungarian oil and gas company, the MOL. And thus, the increasing role of Hungary in the OTS is a direct result of connectivity, as well as the Eastern opening policy, which has been launched after 2010, which is the benefits of energy sector and, of course, the related fields. But the energy cooperation is a cornerstone of Hungary's engagement with the OTS countries, and the key highlights include importing natural gas from Turkey and Azerbaijan via OTS-led infrastructure such as the Trans-Caspian energy route. Additionally, Hungary's MOL group has partnered with Kazmunaygas on significant oil project as well, and Hungary is also investing its renewable energy project under the OTS framework. For example, we are collaborating with Azerbaijan on the Black Sea power cable project to transport green electricity to Europe by 2028, and furthermore partnership with Turkey focused on hydrogen and other storage and solar power development as well. If you check out the different infrastructure projects just in shortly, which is based on the connectivity within the Turkic world, and we can see Hungary's partnership on energy project, like in the natural gas transit throughout the Trans-Caspian route. We can also mention in that part Turkmenistan, because in August 2023, there was a deal which has been signed, which is also the first ever deal to supply natural gas to the EU via Hungary. And this agreement involves Turkmen gas being transported through Iranian pipeline to Azerbaijan and Turkey as well. Of course, we can also talk about Azerbaijan as well, because Hungary signed a deal with Azerbaijan SOCAR in 2023 for the supply for 100 million cubic meters of natural gas, including storage arrangement for 50 million cubic meters in Hungary. The other important part is Turkey, because Turkey plays a pivotal role as an energy transit hub for Hungarian imports. Its agreement between Hungary's MVM and the Turkey's voters include the purchase of up to 300 million cubic meters of natural gas annually, and this strengthens Turkey's role in facilitating energy flows from Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan to Europe. We also mentioned the renewable energy part of the collaboration under the OTS framework, like the Black Sea power cable or the hydrogen solar energy cooperations in the different field. But we can also mention the OTS energy program 2023 and 2027, because Hungary hosted the third meeting of the OTS ministers in charge of energy in Budapest in March 2023, and the meeting emphasized multilateral cooperation on renewable energy technologies, capacity building programs, and of course energy security initiatives within the Turkic world. Of course, Hungary's active participation in OTS initiatives reflects its commitment to fostering deeper ties with Turkic states while advancing shared objectives such as the sustainable development and economic growth by serving as a bridge between Europe and Asia, and Hungary contributes significantly to regional integration under the OTS framework. We also had a couple of information about the transport connectivity based on Professor Vasa's presentation, so I don't want to mention about the Hungary's role in the middle corridor and of course the logistic hubs. Just we have to also remind us it's very important, like in the integration part, of course the rail freight operation and the strategic benefits as well. During the logistic part, we can also have a couple of information to Hungary has prioritize expanding its logistic infrastructure to support growing trade volumes from OTS member states, and this includes creating logistic hubs that serve as vital modes for goods traveling through the middle corridor. So that's why it will be also very important to us, because we can also talk about here the expansion of the logistic parks of Hungary, the integration into the European network, and of course the support of the OTS trade. Of course, during the strategic implication for the Eurasia throughout OTS, we can also mention that Hungary actively supports OTS objectives by contributing to initiatives that enhance connectivity across Eurasia, like the trade routes, the energy security, and of course the strengthening EU-Turkic relations as well. And finally, in the conclusion part, we can also note that Hungary's strategic engagement with the OTS underscore its role as a bridge between Europe and the Turkic world, and by supporting trade routes, energy projects, and cultural exchanges initiatives, Hungary contributes significantly to the Eurasian integration. And looking ahead, Hungary's active participation promises to deepen collaboration, sustainable development, and economic growth, and solidifying its position as a key partner within the OTS framework. Thank you very much.
Yeah, David, thank you very much for your very informative presentation about Hungary's role in bridging Turkic countries to improve integration among state countries. We believe that Hungary will play important role in bridging Eastern countries with Western countries. So let us move to the next presenter. We have Mr. Behzad Khalmatov, Director of the Center for Research of Issues in Development of Transport and Logistics under the Ministry of Transport of the Republic of Uzbekistan. Behzad, please.
Assalamu alaikum, dear participants of today's event. It's an honor and privilege to be here today representing the Minister of Transport of the Republic of Uzbekistan at this distinguished conference. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the leadership of the Center for Economic Research and Reforms for organizing this meeting, which will undoubtedly serve as an important impulse for promoting and strengthening multilateral relations. Today, one of the main trends in the development of transportation logistics is increasing interconnectivity to build sustainable and efficient logistics that can integrate our countries into global trade chains. Members of the Organization of Turkic States are among Uzbekistan's main trade and economic partners, with a free trade regime with Azerbaijan and most favored nation treatment with Turkey and Hungary. During 2024, export-import cargo shipments with member states of the organization amounted to 13 million tons, and this is Uzbekistan's share of 22% of total international cargo traffic. It should be noted that within the framework of the Organization of Turkic States, Uzbekistan's largest partner is Kazakhstan, whose share in total cargo transportation is 75%. The second main partner is Kyrgyzstan, with the share of 90%. Transportation with Azerbaijan reached almost 70,000 tons, whereas with the Republic of Turkey, 780,000 tons. Members of Turkic State Organization are key strategic partners of Uzbekistan, so taking this opportunity, let me briefly consider the key initiatives proposed by the heads of the states during the Turkic States meetings. As part of the 7th Turkic States Summit held in Baku on October 15th, 2019, the President of Uzbekistan, His Excellency Mr. Mirziyoyev, proposed to consider the relevant institutions of member states to use the modern infrastructure of the ports of Aktau, Turkmenbashi, Alyat, Samsun, and Mersin to use mutually beneficial discounts and benefits for member states of the Turkey Council in the construction of transit and logistics centers, as well as transportation of foreign trade. According to this initiative, the first meeting of logistics centers and ports of Turkic states held in Tashkent in 2020 2022. The eighth summit held in November 12, 2021 was remembered for the initiative of the President of Uzbekistan to develop a program for ensuring interdependence in the transport sector, which will make it possible to find practical solutions for the development of inter-regional multimodal corridors. Within the framework of this sixth meeting of the Ministry of Transport of the Organization of Turkic States held in the city of Tashkent in 2022, two important documents were signed: the Agreement on International Multimodal Cargo Transportation and the Program of Interaction in the Transport Sphere. These documents have become the basis for systemizing the transport corridors passing through the region, promoting the increase of traffic on our region, increasing the attractiveness of our roads, and stimulating the progressive development of the country's transport infrastructure. In order to accelerate the above work and find a quick and effective solution to the emerging problems, and moreover to integrate the railway of China, Asia Pacific countries, South and Southeast Asia, with the countries of Central Asia and Caucasus, and the European Union, the President of Uzbekistan at the 10th summit in Astana proposed to establish an international railway council and located its headquarters in Tashkent. We prepared the project of this concept, establishing an international railway council of Turkic state countries, and shared with other parties. We actively working with Turkic states for developing international transport corridors. In particular, a permanent cooperation has been established with the railway administration of Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Turkey on the development of transport corridor Asia-Pacific region, China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey. We call it as Casca Plus. And work is underway to add other countries to this agreement. According to this agreement, all parties will give discounts up to 70% for railway transportation in their territory. In addition, the implementation of all countries in the E-tier and e-permit system within the framework of the Turkic states will simplify the cargo transportation process and reduce transport costs. In 2021, for the first time in the world, a project of electronic exchange of e-permit forms based on e-permit digital platform was implemented between the Ministry of Transport of Uzbekistan and Turkey. In 2024 with Kazakhstan and in 2025 with Azerbaijan, a full transition to electronic exchange of e-permit has been carried out, which is a vivid example of smooth work of our agencies within the framework of the Organization of Turkic States. In terms of developing connectivity, Uzbekistan has practical measures in recent years for promising and develop existing multimodal transport corridors in the region. For more effective use of the potential and land and multimodal corridors, it's necessary to complete the formation of the unified transport network, creating a global continuous supply chain between the Organization of Turkic States and other regions in the north-south and east-west directions. Implementation of the projects on construction of the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan railroad and the Trans-Afghan corridor is important in this direction. The volume of freight traffic of China with such countries, Turkey, Iran, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, amounted to almost 50 million tons, and there is a possibility of attracting part of this cargo to the road China-Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan in the amount about of 10 million, and with a stable organization of cargo transportation along the road, the volume of cargo transportation by 2040 can increase 4 times. According to our calculations, after implementation of the construction of the railroad, China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, the distance from China to Europe will be reduced by more than 1,000 kilometers, and the time will be decreased by 7-8 days. Moreover, Uzbekistan extremely interested in trade and transport cooperation with Afghanistan, especially with the realization of Trans-Afghan Railroad, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. As a result of implementation of the project Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, the cost of cargo transportation from Pakistan to Uzbekistan, according to preliminary calculations, will be reduced to 30 to 50%. The delivery time will be 3-5 days instead of 10-14 days. I would like to briefly consider key directions of Uzbekistan, which are the foundation for sustainable development of the transport and communication industry in the state. Since the first year of independence, Uzbekistan has paid great attention to the creation of new transportation communications links the republic with other states and regions. Over the past 5 years, Uzbekistan has witnessed a steady growth in the volume of international cargo transportation, with annual growth averaging 10%. In 2023, the strategy Uzbekistan 2030 was adopted, defining the priority tasks on rising to a qualitatively new level of practical interaction of regional cooperation in transport and communication sphere. Also in January 2025, the concept of development of transport and logistics system of Uzbekistan until 2030 was approved, according to which the main targets and indicators have been defined. Increasing the volume of international freight and exports of transport and logistics services by at least 2 times, with the share of containerized cargo transportation increasing by at least 1.5 times. Creating a network of logistics centers with increase in their cargo handling capacity by at least 3 times. Within Uzbekistan, major infrastructure projects are also being undertaken to improve connectivity and the free movement of goods. For example, 48% of total railways have been electrified, more than 1,000 freight wagons and 30 passenger wagons have been produced, as well as 245 wagons have been repaired in Uzbekistan. Work is underway to organize the construction of toll roads Tashkent-Samarkand with length of 300 kilometers and Tashkent-Andijan with length of 315 kilometers. Construction of 56 bridges and reconstruction of 841 kilometers of roads. Dear participants of today's event, we highly appreciate the continuous support of our partners in the development of international transport corridors. Once again, let me thank you for the opportunity to participate in today's event and hope for further cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thank for detailed presentation of transport corridors among these member countries. Yes, as you mentioned, the transportation also plays critical role on trade and economic growth. Therefore, we believe that cooperation among think tank organizations in this regard is very first importance. Let us move to the next presenter, Ms. Lydia Parkamchik, Chief Researcher of the Eurasian Studies Program, Institute of World Economics and Politics, under the foundation of the first President of the Republic of Kazakhstan. She is attending online. Can you hear us? Dear Lydia, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Please.
Let me start to demonstrate my
you can start.
presentation. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much for opportunity, dear colleagues, to be part of today's outstanding event. And I would like to express my gratitude to organizers for the opportunity to address such a significant issue as the development of organization of Turkish states. Well, our present session is devoted to results of regional integration and infrastructure projects of the member states. And I would like to draw attention to the Central Asia region, especially in the context of the development of the transport sector. In light of the current conditions, the Central Asia countries have clearly defined as a current priority to develop as a reliable regional transit. But due to its geographical location, Central Asian countries do not have to maritime transportation corridors, it's obvious, and consequently, this sort of circumstance results in additional cost being increased for transportation services, thereby increasing the initial cost of export and import. As a result, efficiency of region system in the whole Central Asia region remain unfortunately insufficient. Contradiction emerge in the approach to the development of transport policies, especially at the national level. Well, according to the World Bank, Central Asia are among the least connected economies in the world. The region's connectivity, measured by average transport access ratio with respect to the global GDP, has been found to be less than 60% at a given scale. So is the lowest than it can be observed for all other regions. Well, over the past few decades, Central Asia invested $millions in infrastructure development. For example, we already mentioned it, Kazakhstan has invested approximately $35 billion in transport sector in years. But despite this investment, we can see that despite this investment, the region continues to be behind its neighbors in terms of both infrastructure investments and infrastructure maintenance. Look at this slide. You can see the World Bank Transport Logistics Index for Central Asia, where we can find that in 2003, Kazakhstan maintained its position as the leading country in the region, ranking 79 among 160 countries, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. So, despite all the efforts that regions, countries to initiate the transport infrastructure, this index, LPI index, has shown a decline comparison with we have in 2010, comparing to what we have in 2023. Well, especially for Tajikistan. In fact, I call this phenomenon as a transportation paradox. A close analysis of the situation in the region demonstrates a clear link between infrastructure investment and gross regional product, GDP. Well, according to Eurasian Development Bank, over the past decades, the gross domestic product of Central Asia countries in a whole exceeded more than $400 billion, well, increasing sixfold. And the average economic growth was at the level of 6.2%. It's more than average in the whole in the world. But, however, we can see that the region's growing economic prosperity, which can be clearly observed, and increasing transportation volumes do not exceeds the growth in investment connectivity. As for the Kazakhstani case, despite the evident growth in key macroeconomic indicators over the last decade, the transport and logistics sector has not undergone any significant structural changes. Well, maintaining the share of country's GDP at the average level of just 7%. It's in fact, it's not enough to stimulate the progress in the transportation sector. You know that in Kazakhstan, the share of logistics costs can reach up to 25% of the cost of final products. So in comparison, in the global average standards, at least at 11%, while in China, it's the same indicator is 14, the European Union is as average 11, and for USA and Canada, it's even 10. So consequently, the economy of Kazakhstan bears a transportation burden at the rate of the double the experience in development countries. Well, in terms of freight intensity, and the economy of Kazakhstan is approximately 5 times less efficient. It's important to note that such challenges are a feature of economic across all Central Asia countries. Well, in coming years, Central Asia countries are planning to implement a number of promising logistic corridors in order to overcome this transportation paradox. All the countries of the region are convenient that in the new geopolitical reality, the role of region is promoting and developing transcontinental trade is rapidly increasing. It's true because we really have the potential. Well, you see this slide can show you the key parameters of corridors which should be implemented in order to strengthen our transport connectivity in the region. Primarily, but it's important to emphasize that each of the existing or planned transport corridors passing through Central Asia face a number of challenges. Primarily, traffic on the majority of the roads remained combined. So what does it mean? It means that involving both railway and road transportation. In sometimes it's even maritime transportation. It's for North-South international road. For Lapis Lazuli, for example, transportation road, and for Trans-Caspian or Middle Corridor road also. There is due to absence of entire segments of railroad connectivity, which should be also built and constructed. Secondly, there is a necessity to invest levels and time frame for initiating full capacity operation. It's at this term, it's remained undetermined. The budget requires for corridor construction is strong dependent on some geopolitical characteristic of the road. So it's evident that establishment of unified logistic management entire for all corridors remains a challenge, a challenging prospect, in fact. The existence of the interstate government and corridor formation does not allow the segmentation of data into the single statistics. For example, Trans-Caspian or Middle Corridor, it's easy because we have institution for that. But for all other corridors, it's up to every country to how to calculate the traffic. For the project for them that has been made for Trans-Caspian international transit road, for this road can be considered as more than expected. In fact, in 2024, the freight traffic on this road was 3.3 million tons in compared to 2.7 million tons back in 2023. Presently, this road, Trans-Caspian or the corridor, can handle 6 million tons of cargo per year, with a further increase to 10 million cargo per year. Well, container traffic has increased significantly last year, with more than 56,000 containers recorded in last year, as I said, and making almost 174% increase comparing to the previous year. Well, furthermore, the number of containers trains shipped from China last year increased by 33 times. It's huge increase because of interest from Chinese partners. Nevertheless, it's important to note that the share of cargo of transported through this middle corridor in Kazakhstan along the whole particular corridor is less than 1% of the total freight transport by railway sea of the country. So it can be concluded that the problematic aspects of that faced by Central Asia countries in creating new transport corridor can be resolved if there is a sustainable interest in the road among extra-regional partners. Undoubtedly, that the initiation of North-South road, I don't mention the Trans-Caspian North-Southern road, but I look forward to North-Southern roads from Russia via Central Asia and finalizing in Uzbekistan, then Afghanistan and back to South Asia. So this road will result in a comprehensive redistribution of trade flows with South Asia, predominantly with Pakistan and India. And the development of Pakistani port capacities, as encouraged by China, is another instance for this logistic direction, as it increased a possibility of redirecting of part of Chinese cargoes in the southern direction through the countries of Central Asia. So the Middle Corridor, Lapis Lazuli Corridor, the Chinese Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Corridor are examples of the roads which continue to facilitate the development of so-called Trans-Caspian transportation. Those initiatives are aligned with the European logistics expansion strategy. You probably remember that back in December of 2021, the European Commission launched the Global Gate Initiative, which prioritized the development of transport corridor towards Europe. And within the framework of this initiative, the EU has sent itself the objective of conducting a large-scale study to identify the most sustainable transport corridors connecting Central Asia and the Trans-European transport net. So you probably see all conclusions made by European Bank of Reconstruction and Development back in May 2023, which demonstrates that Central Asia proposed considerable transit potential to Europe and projected indicators that can be by the year 2040, the region's transit capacity is supposed to rise to 175,000 containers per year. However, the study also identifies the need for significant infrastructure investments in the region. Well, according to the bank, connecting Central Asia infrastructure to Trans-European transport network would require additional investments. It's about 18.5 billion euros. So, in conclusion, it's evident that there is a necessity conditions for increasing the intra-regional transport connectivity in Central Asia countries. And this will only be created through the combination of approach to the development of investment, internal transport arteries, and constructions of infrastructure within international transport corridors. A key element of this process should be established of the regional agreement within the aim of formal integration of regional networks and railroads and roads and dry ports and in a single network. It will be hard to do, but we really need this. The publishing planned indicators of the transport sector development in Central Asia for the coming years show that we are not expecting a dramatic increase in freight traffic in the region. Well, but still we have a capacity to capitalize on global reorganization of logistic networks, triggered, for example, by Ukraine crisis. It's essential that countries, for Central Asian countries, to do that, it's essential to remove all infrastructural bottlenecks. So, in the view of present uncertainty in the global logistics sectors, there is a chance for deliveries through the transit corridor in Central Asia countries. It became more and more in demand. So, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Lydia, for your detailed information about each transport corridor. So, since she was our final presenter, let us move now to the questions and answers part of our session. Dear participants, if you have any questions, you are now free to give to our experts. Please.
I would like to ask one question from Usala Jafarova. So she mentioned that, Trans-Caspian corridors capacity right now through the Azerbaijan, which is going right now, it's like 7 million tons, yes? So do we have some estimations that the full capacity of this, the corridor is about like 11. There's another estimation which says it's 15 million ton. So what do you think that what are the main factors which are kind of holding this utilization of this capacity, Usala?
Thank you for this question. Early morning we heard about the statements on the future potential growth of middle corridor because of the uncertainty on the traditional north and south corridors. That's why, even though it's extremely underutilized, this corridor, it's maybe the less than 3% of its potential, this corridor is utilized. That's why, considering the biggest, the future, very tremendous use by the users of this corridor, that's why we have as a government, we have the capacity to increase the cargo handling capacity of the Baku International Sea Trade Port from that up to increase its capacity for that target. So it's just to meet the demand, the global demand that we think that it will happen. And actually, Azerbaijan's strategy always is calculated to very future 10 or 15 years. And that's why we think that the second phase of reconstruction of sea trade port will enable Azerbaijan to handle this cargo flow capacity crossing Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Is there any questions?
Do we have online Miss Mahmoudova?
Mahmoudova.
Marriott?
Yes,
Can you
right
please
here.
check?
Can you hear us, Miss Mahmoudova?
Yes, yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, yes.
You
I'm
mentioned
hearing.
that the ADB is developing the strategy on the development of the middle corridor. Yes. What are the main highlights
Yes,
of
right.
this strategy? So what is the kind of the necessity of this strategy?
Yes, again, I would like to note that I don't have right to tell from ADB side. Of course, I am not official person. I am consultant. Regarding necessity of this strategy, first of all, ADB as a regional development institution, all countries, OTS countries, all countries in region are member stakeholders of Asian Development Bank. So ADB is interested in economic development of region, in inclusiveness of economic development, support SME in routes along the corridor, support women entrepreneurship. So many development goals. So it is important that ADB as a development bank suggesting open vision regarding strategy of middle corridor. So main idea of ADB is turn middle corridor, corridor 2, officially named ADB, move middle corridor into economic corridor, not just transit route, not just bridge between Europe and China, but main driver of economic development in countries of region. Very briefly, very short answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Yeah, please.
First of all, I would like to thank all the speakers for informative presentations, and I learned many things. I would like to address Ms. Lydia Parkhomchik regarding this middle corridor. In your presentation, you mentioned that in Kazakhstan, the middle corridor transportation is 1% by rail and sea transportation. But as a Turkic world, we are giving big importance to this middle corridor. Could you please tell us how can we increase transportation of freights and other things not by 1%, but maybe triple it or make it 10 times more, because it's a little bit not fair to having only 1% of transportation through middle corridor and having 99% from different roads. Could you please enlighten us how can we should proceed? How should we increase the transportation through middle corridor? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. You see, in order to highlight is this exact point that Kazakhstan have alternatives for now. Of course, we have huge terminals on the Chinese-Kazakhstani border, and we also have traffic from China. It's huge. It's more than 1 million containers per year, and the number is growing year by year. Previously, it was 1.3, I suppose, million containers, and we want to enlarge it to 2 million per year. And you know, when we share the traffic for middle corridor and, for example, for so-called north corridor to Russia, we can see the difference, because for Trans-Caspian corridor, it's only 56,000. And for Russia and Belarus, with not so much share of European transit from China to Europe via the Russian territory, it's more than 80,000 containers. So the huge difference, because there is lack of some services, and Chinese partners, they still prefer use the road via Russia in order to communicate with their counterparts in Russia and Belarus. And it's not good for, in fact, for Kazakhstan, both directions, they are in priority. But of course, if we're talking about Central Asia region, if we talk about all the Turkic states, of course, we want to prioritize all Trans-Caspian transshipments and cargo freight. It doesn't matter. Let it be Aktau port, let it be Kurit port, let it be Turkmenbashi port. It's all the issue of transportation. It's all the issue of having additional money to the budget, cost economic growth. So what should we do? Of course, services, and you see, time traveling. You probably noticed that there was a remark in presentation of my colleague from Kazakhstan, that there was duration of the cargo train from China to, for example, some European countries, 2 years ago for middle via middle corridor was almost 2 months, 16 days, 60 days. Now it's decreased to 2 weeks, maybe something more. But you know how much effort should be done in order to decrease the number of days that your cargo is moving via our territory with Azerbaijani territory and so on and so forth. So there is a huge job that were made in order to make a shuttle service for each so-called shuttle container train, which on a regular basis started at the border of Kazakhstan and China and crossed also our territory to the our Caspian Gate in Aktau. So for organizing this shuttle train, it took almost 3 years. So in order to increase the number of this shuttle year, it will take another, maybe not 3 years, I don't want to be such a pessimistic, but still we need to have a time. And not only in our territory, but also the same service should be provided by all our Caucasian countries. I mean, Azerbaijani partners, Georgian partners, and of course in Turkey partners. So it will be direct line of cargo transshipment. Of course, Caspian transportation services in our Caspian ports, both in Kazakhstani side and in Azerbaijani side, they are complicated. They are still complicated. And this is the second steps that we should make. It's to improve our transshipment via Caspian Sea, because our port infrastructure, it's not ready to have huge amount of containers. For example, in Aktau port, the whole traffic of containers is limited to 1,000 containers per year. So we can only double amount of containers that we have, which we would provide for now. But we are planning to have a container hub to increase it at 300,000 containers per year. So it will be dramatic increase, threefold. That we have in the capacity, but still we need investments. Still we need a time to do. We need the partners which are interested in our port infrastructure, Chinese partners, and our so the Emirates, I suppose, I mean, Middle East partners, which are also very strong investment in the Caspian region in the whole, not only in Kazakhstan, in Azerbaijan also. So it's these two steps, I suppose, in my point of view, will dramatically increase the whole volume of cargo traffic via the middle road.
Miss Lydia, thank you very much. It's a very good answer. You reminded one story, if I may. My cousin worked in a tennis federation, and he called me. We have a tournament, and my container stuck in Azerbaijan. Could you please help us? Otherwise, the tournament is not able, because they are transporting it from Europe. I think Kazakhstan Tennis Federation, they are doing something. And I intervened, and with ambassador, we could solve this issue, and it was transported on time. But if I didn't intervene, or if I mean there is companies or persons who don't have a connection, then they are in trouble. That's why I absolutely agree with you regarding these complicated situations, the service, and you are absolutely right. I think all our OTS member states should do some homework on this matter in order to be competitive, to be fast. And our transport ministerial colleagues are also on this issue very seriously, and hopefully one day we will reach our goals. I thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So,
We have already passed.
yeah, so if you have further questions, we can discuss these questions during the coffee break time. So we announce right now coffee break time until 15:50. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.